Welcome to the Filmcast review of The Smashing Machine, newest film starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I'm going to read the plot summary from IMDb. The story of mixed martial arts and UFC champion Mark Kerr. End quote.
Boom. Done.
Riveting. Riveting IMDb description. That's all you need.
Let's go home.
Jeff Canada, I know that UFC is not quite in the same category as the types of wrestling that you are super into and have spoken about on the podcast, but I believe you are familiar with the story of Mark Kerr. And so let's go to you first. What did you think of The Smashing Machine?
Well, Dave, I guess you could say what I thought of The Smashing Machine is best summed up in the form of a limerick.
Let's hear it.
He's built like a shithouse of bricks. But even The Rock cannot fix this film's glacial pace. The fact we must face is mumblecore sports just don't mix.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, that even with the first line, that was close to your Mona Lisa right there, man. That was very good. Nicely done.
I was rooting for this movie real hard. Pretty excited about it. Heard some of the buzz coming out of film festivals. Liking the idea of The Rock maybe getting into his Copland phase, if you catch my reference.
Sure. Yeah.
That's what I want for him. You know, I have a soft spot in my heart for The Rock. Lots of evidence to the contrary, but not evidence for me, but I mean like reasons to the contrary to not really have a soft spot for him. But I do still can't help myself. I was a fan of the Attitude Era of WWE, the 90s. I can't help but like the guy and root for him. And so I was really excited about this movie and really looking forward to it. You're right, Dave, in saying that I'm much more interested in professional wrestling, but I did have a UFC phase in the early days. I had some buddies that would get, back when there were such things as pay-per-views, would get the pay-per-view for the UFC every month, and we'd go over and we'd all, have a beer and watch the UFC fights and cringe at the knockouts and stuff. So there was a period where I was watching that stuff. I don't really care for it much anymore, and certainly can't get behind it being in our White House. But all of this stuff is in my Venn diagram, baby. This is all stuff. And I also love the Benny Safdie and the Safdie brothers, and the notion of this, him sort of taking The Rock and making some, an art house movie with The Rock at the center about this topic. Man, I just thought it was going to be a home run.
This movie is genetically engineered for you to love it.
Yes.
Or maybe genetically augmented, as the case may be. But unfortunately, this movie is an experiment that I think fails on every conceivable level. And that experiment is, can we make a mumblecore sports movie? And that I do not think works at all, at any point, in any fashion.
What would you define as the characteristics of mumblecore in that?
Yeah, this doesn't feel mumblecore to me.
Yeah, that's not what the word I would use, but I want to hear what you're describing.
Maybe I'm misappropriating the term, but the notion that this is all it's very understated, all slice of life, all feels like very improvisational style dialogue, small moments, non-traditional plotting, just kind of scenes from a mall, just popping in and that's not a mumblecore movie, but we're popping into these moments, popping out of them. There's no connective tissue per se. There's no it is very pedestrian in the way it's shot, in the way it's performed. It is the opposite of maximal, right? It is retreating from spectacle, retreating from anything, trying to get at something that is very naturalistic and almost subnaturalistic. It's almost like I said, very pedestrian, very not even conversational, but just almost boring. Like that's what I would
think
describe.
You're just describing a boring movie, Jeff. But yeah.
But
the thing about mumblecore is it's cheap as hell. Like that's it. Just cheap ass indie movies, right?
Okay,
and like you were a little funny. Yeah.
But I think there's an aesthetic that is also on display, which is very and maybe by virtue of how little money they have to spend, but the aesthetic, as I would define it, and you guys can disagree, is that sort of lo-fi, pedestrian kind of very what's another word for it? It's very sort of anti-spectacle. Sure, and I think that unfortunately, in the context of this subject matter, just fails for me in every moment. The movie kind of wants to rely on the structure of a sports movie and yet rebels against it at every turn. And things happen that are not set up at all. These kind of big plot moments of, something just pops up like, oh my gosh, now we have this opinion about each other as characters. And none of that was seeded. We saw none of the origins of that. There are, huge swings of plot that in a traditional sports movie, we would see how that builds and how that generates. And, oh, now this character is acting like this. And why? Well, the movie doesn't care to explain it to you. It's just popping into these little moments of life, these little slices of very mundane moments of their lives. And we are asked to connect those together, which sometimes can work. Here, it does not. Also, we are shown lots of moments of what you would traditionally call action.
Yes.
Which here I would say is the opposite of action. It could not be less impressive, less, to my mind.
I was curious what your thoughts were as somebody who has watched a lot of this, a lot of fighting.
It is very, the theatricality of it is really retreated from. They pull away anything in this movie that would be a traditional like Rocky Balboa. The music swells and we're gonna get it there. Everything is, matches here, UFC matches. We see numerous of them. They all just end. There's no, there's no kind of climax. There's no. There's really no 3-act structure to the fight itself, which, most sports movies want to sort of create drama in the context of the competition. Yeah. Here, it's all desaturated, emotional desaturation. Everything is just presentational, flat, almost Brechtian. It's just like, here it is. We're showing it to you. You decide how to feel. We're not going to tell you how to feel.
That feels very indie movie, by the way. Like you were talking about Mumblecore before, and like that does like Mumblecore was a very specific thing, which was just like lo-fi comedy. That's kind of what that always felt like. Yeah. But yeah, you're describing like indie filmmaking, at its peak, I guess.
The aesthetic. Perhaps I'm misappropriating the term. Apologies to everyone that's already written their emails. But I think the point still stands: is that there is this aesthetic that this movie seems to be slavishly adhering to, which is dress down all of it, reduce all of the sort of theatricality and spectacle that you would normally see in a sports movie. And it's like, no, that does not make for a better experience for me. I was disappointed. I thought the makeup effects failed. I thought the fighting choreography failed. I thought the way it's shot is failed. I thought the way it's edited was failed. I thought the storytelling failed. I thought every level of this movie to me failed, other than I thought Emily Blunt and Dwayne Johnson both gave lovely performances.
Yeah. Just a quick thought on the aesthetics, Jeff, before we move to Devindra's opinion. And the movie looks like it was shot on film. I don't know if they actually did shoot it on film, but it has a kind of filmic look with, I would say, I'm glad you clarified emotional desaturation, because I think it was quite saturated from a color perspective. Yeah. And I think what you're getting at is, to my eye, virtually the entire film feels like it was shot at a medium angle, like a 45 millimeter lens or a 65 millimeter lens, basically, like with pretty much no shallow depth of field at all. So that leads to a very, I think, flat is the word you use, kind of a flat presentation where it's going to like a what you see is what you get kind of thing. There's nothing, the camera is just there. It's not like trying to emphasize something, in the frame in any, with any kind of filmic tricks like extremely elaborate lighting or shallow depth of field or things like that. And I did notice that, and it is a choice, and it seems like it's a choice that didn't work for you. But Devindra Hardawar, I'm curious, what do you think of the Smashing Machine?
I think the Smashing Machine wins by points. It's not a knockout, right? But it is, like, to me at least, it feels like the things, like, it feels well acted, well shot. They try to do something interesting. Like, it's by points, trying to be a decent sports film and a prestige one. But I also think it feels very generic because it doesn't really surpass kind of like what we expect from these types of films. So I get your frustration, Jeff. This movie is The Iron Claw. I think The Iron Claw is one of the best American movies made in the last decade. I know you didn't like that one, Jeff, but I wonder if this movie will make you reconsider that, because what The Iron Claw does so well is it really paints this broad drama. Like, it's an operatic drama about this family, but also about the toll of wrestling on your body and this overall organization. And this movie just feels like it's about this guy. And the guy is interesting. He's kind of an interesting character, kind of a nice guy. And The Rock does a decent job of portraying him, but it's just that. Whereas I feel like they keep hinting at, like, oh yeah, they're trying to make a UFC illegal. Like, okay, what's that story? What's going on there? Let's like broaden the scope a little bit so we can see what's going on. Whereas you're really just stuck with The Rock and his relationship with Emily Blunt and a couple of matches in Japan. The Japan stuff is really interesting because I was looking as like, how this is a busy street in Tokyo. How did you get all the cars? How did you make this look like the 90s? Like, that alone was like, my God.
I was like, they spent like, there's, I'm going to say like 5 shots of Japan, and that whole thing looked like it cost. The movie cost $50 million. That's the thing that I think. That's the thing I think Devindra is reacting to, Jeff, is Mumblecore is generally regarded as low budget. This is not a low budget movie. I know you've already apologized. I'm just saying, like, this is not a low budget film.
But it's weird because, like, there are those Japan shots where you're like, how the hell was this made? Because literally all era cars in a wide shot in a freeway. The costuming,
that shot must have, those series of shots must have cost like $1 million for that series of shots.
And then there were some shots where like, hey, let's go say hi to the crowd of fans. The camera never shows you the full crowd of fans because it's like 20 people. All my fans are behind off camera, right? Because we couldn't afford to get more people. The movie does kind of weird things like that. I think it's a fine prestige film, but I feel you, Jeff, because I don't feel like it goes far enough. It could be more epic. I think about The Iron Claw so often, and like the things that movie did and how like just epic and poetic it was. And like, it wasn't fully true to like reality from what I've read about that family story, but also it definitely touched at things that made me tear up while watching it and has lingered with me. Whereas like, I come out of this movie like, well, that guy was a good wrestler and, he had a career that was interesting. And The Rock played him. But I think this movie almost feels like it's fashioned in a way to get The Rock an Oscar or to get Dwayne Johnson an Oscar. And that's where I'm kind of like, oh, I feel this cynical vibe to it, because my complaint against him as an actor is that he has not really taken many chances, right? His entire career has been built around going from wrestling to doing like, hey, he did some action films early on, like the, what was it?
The Rundown?
The Rundown, like the Rundown, like that era. He had some like the Richard Kelly movie, like Southland Tales. He had like some cool experiments. And after that point, it was all family friendly and then mainstream blockbuster appeal. He never really has romantic relationships in these movies. He doesn't really push any buttons. He is the good guy who's always morally right and like is always doing good stuff. Maybe his Fast and Furious character kind of started out as like an interesting pushback against that image. But I just felt like he has not been doing interesting stuff. This movie feels like an attempt to do that. But it also feels like a kind of a vain attempt at some sort of like reward like situation. There's a scene in the hospital in this movie, which I think was a complete failure, because it's that moment where he is at his lowest and he's supposed to break down. And we don't even get to see his face really. Like he kind of crumbles in and starts crying into the blanket like a child. And it just feels that scene didn't hit with me at all, because it felt like he could not really commit to that scene or really sell that moment. Even though this guy's like emotionally immature in so many other ways too. Like there's interesting things about the character, interesting things about his relationship with Emily Blunt, but it doesn't feel like it goes far enough. And then the point where I think to like the end of Midnight Alley, where we're like, oh man, Bradley Cooper is one of the greatest actors we have alive right now. And there's a scene where Dwayne Johnson had to cry and really bring himself down low, and I don't feel like he could do it. So that kind of hurt too.
Nightmare Alley, by the way, is a movie.
Nightmare Alley.
Nightmare Alley, yeah.
Nightmare Alley. But it just kind of feels like, this was a great award attempt and with an interesting filmmaker and good cast, and they did a thing, but it wasn't particularly exceptional.
I think the problem with this film, and we should acknowledge, by the way, that there is a documentary that covers the same material that a lot of people have said, just watch the documentary. You'll probably learn more from the documentary. I think the problem with this film is that it never chooses a take. Like it doesn't choose a take on these events. And there are many potential takes you could have. So for instance, Devindra, you've been pointing out the Iron Claw. Great take. It's like, hey, this is about how professional wrestling helped to destroy this family, right? And like what kind of the toll of that was. I think about movies like Warrior, right, which is about, hey, these two people are brothers, but they need to fight against each other now. Oh wow, like that what an interesting dynamic that is. And then there's other you could also have a take of like, what does it mean to support somebody? What does it mean to be a romantic interest of somebody who is pursuing greatness at virtually all costs? And
or
the movie could have been
to become the top of a very brutal sport. What is that? What toll does it take? It's not about any one of those things.
The movie could have been about any of those things, and it's not. It's not about any of those things. And that is a huge bummer, because it just didn't choose. It didn't choose what it wanted to be about. And ultimately, it's about nothing. Ultimately, what I am left with at the end of this film is the filmmakers really want you to know, hey, there was a guy named Mark Kerr. He was very talented. He was important. No one knows who he is, but you should know who he is. That is really the ultimate take that this movie has. And that is not enough to sustain a good movie, in my opinion. That it's not a bad. I'm sure that's actually all accurate. Like I think that's a potentially even noble thing to want to pursue, is like making sure somebody who is instrumental to the rise of this sport gets credit properly for it. But that does not make for like a riveting theatrical experience, unfortunately. Having said all that, I thought Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was excellent. And in particular, I'm going to reveal what happens in the opening scene of this film, but I thought the opening was brilliant. I was so in after watching the first 5 minutes. Because the opening scene shows one of Mark Kerr's first ever matches where he fights someone. And narrating the match is Mark Kerr, the character played by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, being interviewed by a journalist. And so as you're watching him beat the shit out of people, he is then narrating like over what his approach is and how his feelings are. And there is this wonderful juxtaposition of this guy, Mark Kerr, is a kind and gentle giant type person.
And thoughtful too. Like he's
thoughtful, right? Yeah. Juxtaposed with the viciousness of what you're seeing on screen. And I thought, maybe this movie is going to be exploring the dynamic of like what it means to be like a nice, cool, gentle person on the outside, but then need to kick someone in the neck, when you're in the ring. And then the movie is not about that. But like the opening scene, I was like, oh, this is like a really fascinating way to present this information. Yeah. And so I was really like rooting for the movie. And then it really just like nothing interesting happens for virtually the rest of the time. And that's a huge bummer.
Exact same experience. Yeah. I thought that opening was really brilliant. And The Rock is really playing a character, right?
Yes.
Which I would venture to say has not done in a long time.
And you know what's what's so sad is the movie is doing, in my opinion, disastrously. It made like $6 million. And, we saw what happened when Adam Sandler's Uncut Gems didn't do well.
Yeah.
He made Happy Gilmore too and a bunch of others.
That's right.
Like I think he's like The Rock is going to be like, I'm not going to do this again. Like that's what I'm afraid of.
It's a bummer.
which is too bad because despite the fact that I don't think the movie is very good, he is very good in it, and he is interesting in it. And I wish the movie that he was in was a better film, but that is the bummer. So anyway, those are our thoughts.
I want to shout out a couple of the other people in it, by the way, but Emily Blunt is very good in this particular role, in a really tired role, I think, too. But yeah,
I have more thoughts on that I want to share in spoilers. So
also shout out to Ryan Bader, who plays like his friend Mark Coleman. Ryan Bader is an actual UFC fighter, I believe, and he's very good in this. Like, he gets the whole friendly vibe. He gets some moments in the ring too that I think are really, really fun.
Again, the dynamic between the two of them is there's like a clear, dramatic
tons
place
of potential
that can go to, and the movie squanders all of it. It's all totally. It's very bizarrely structured, this movie.
Yeah.
And it's
all right. Let's do a few spoilers for the movie starting right now. All right, spoilers for The Smashing Machine. Emily Blunt, she is great in the film, and but her character is played, in my opinion, fairly monstrously. Like, she starts like as a very sympathetic character, but then as it goes on, she is unsupportive of this man's sobriety, which I think is like a cardinal sin in movies, right? Like, or pop culture. And that's okay to show in a movie. I'm not saying like, therefore it should never be depicted, but like, I don't think the movie ever goes anywhere with it. I don't think the movie ever tries to make any point about the fact that she's
no idea what's going on with her at
we have no clue. She's a difficult character, but also they're both people with like emotional issues stuck in this like toxic super relationship, and they can't quite get out of it. But it's usually a thankless role, right? Like, with that type of character, it is interesting seeing the other people's responses to her. Like when she shows up in Japan the first time, and Coleman's like just is quiet and walks out, and
we have no idea why he's being that way.
We don't know, but also
gives us no insight.
There are things you can kind of infer. Is like, him and the coach as well. Him and the coach is like, oh, you're doing this? You're going to go with her? The movie relies on implication at times, and in ways like it is subtle, but yes, I would have loved to see more from her character. It's a tough role because she is not a great partner to him at many times, but also he's not a great partner to her, and like that could have been the core of something.
Yes, it could have been. It could have been the core. It could have been like the relationship between those two people. What was that? I want to say like Southpaw, Jake Gyllenhaal, right? There's a very that like the dynamic between him and Rachel McAdams, I think, was like a critical part of that movie, and I feel like it never really goes anywhere here. Jeff, go ahead.
I mean, this is like the prototypical failing the Bechdel test movie too, where it's like if I was gun to my head, you have to write 3 sentences about who this woman is that have nothing to do with The Rock's character. There's no possible way. We know nothing about her. Nothing. Only in her relationship to him is there any clarity. Does she exist? She is a shadow that he casts. That is it. Everything we know about her is in relation to how she treats him. And like, where does she come from? What does she want in the world? What is she? Why is she there? None of it. The movie.
I totally hear you. I totally hear you, Jeff. I will say, part of that may be more a feature than a bug of this movie. Like her her reliance on him. She is nothing without him. Like that whole scene towards the end where it's like, where he tells her to get out, basically immediately runs to the gun, immediately runs to other things. She cannot conceive of existing without this man. So that stuff is interesting. That stuff is poetic. But yeah, we could have spent more time with her as a character. I think his whole thing into rehab feels so neat and easy. Like, oh man, he has an overdose, right? And his friends come and tell him, don't do this. And he's like, I won't do this. And he goes straight to rehab, and he's out, and he's good after that. And then his partner's not supportive. I felt like that was too clean. That was too easy too. That's a whole journey. That's a whole story that you could be going over. The movie just like moves too quickly and doesn't let us sit with any of that.
Jeff, I think you're really underselling some of the character development of Emily Blunt. Like, for instance, we know she likes taking her friends out to dinner or lunch and surprising them with happy birthday from the place. Like that's something that she likes to do. So that's a characteristic of hers. I think that when the movie ended, I got pretty irritated, I have to say, like by the ending of the movie, because the movie says, "Oh, hey," and I don't even remember what the text was, but it basically like summarizes everything that happened in their relationship after the movie.
And we're looking at the real Mark Kerr, by the way.
Yeah. Right, as we're looking at the real Mark Kerr, and I want to say, like, I literally wanted to say to the filmmakers, like, be so for real right now, like, be so for real, like, I can't believe you're doing this, like,
Wait, what specifically triggered you? It says they got married a couple of years after, and then they have a son together, but that's it. Yeah.
Well, first of all, Devindra, where do we leave that relationship in the movie? Right, like
in a shitty place. In a shitty place. Yeah.
Right, so it's like, oh, and it was all okay. I'm like, be so for real right now. Like, I can't believe really you're aligning.
It clearly wasn't okay. They didn't have like a long marriage. They're like, yes, they were married for a couple of years. That's it.
Yeah, but like, what am I supposed to take from that? You know, like, I don't.
Yeah, what are you supposed to take from any of it?
Okay.
What do you do with this? What do you do with this? I get you.
Yeah, that was point one. Is like, we've just witnessed this like really traumatic thing where she almost shoots herself in the head.
Yes. Yeah.
And then it's like, and by the way, they got married afterwards, and they had a kid, and it was, and I'm not saying it was a happy ending, because obviously, like, it doesn't seem like they stayed together, but it seems like it was happier for a time. Anyway.
That's how the whole movie is, Dave, too, because it's like, hey, wouldn't it be crazy if we're best friends, and wouldn't it be crazy if we have to fight each other in the finals? I know, man. Well, whatever, best man wins, whatever happens, well, you know, our friendship won't die if we have to do that. Do we have to do that? No.
Nope.
No. The whole movie is like that. It's like, whoa, man, I'm addicted to alcohol. Is that going to be a whole thing? No, I just went to rehab and got over it. It's fine. I mean, the whole movie is like that.
The thing that really
what is this? What am I watching?
But really, like, Jeff, the purpose of the movie reveals itself in the final 2 minutes, right? It's, hey guys, Mark Kerr.
Look at this guy. He can go to the grocery store and no one recognizes him.
He needs to shop for his own groceries, right?
Yeah.
The guys today, the people today doing UFC, they make $50 million. But this guy, he was important. And yet he is shopping for his own groceries like a chump. And that's
the weirdest little moment too, because he just like looks right at the camera and goes, nah, and that's the movie, you know? It's like, it's so weird.
I think you guys are being a little uncharitable here, just because, yes, that is what the movie's letting you take away with. All the text is just like, that's it. It's weird that we're walking away with that after leaving the relationship in such a shitty place. I think that's part of the point. It's just like, yeah, this is a messy story. He doesn't look unhappy in the final scene, is the thing. Like, it's weird how he exudes his, like, the geniality that The Rock was trying to perform throughout this. Like, he doesn't seem miserable. He's not like the guy from Hurt Locker coming back from war, right? And going to shop and be like, this is miserable. Look at all the cereal. He is a guy that looks like, but he looks like he's happy and enjoying life. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, he's a happy guy. He kind of ended up in this situation. It sure sucks that he was not more well known and more well recognized and didn't even like win that big match, which would have gotten him a lot of money. The movie leaves a lot of questions unanswered and leaves you with stuff to take away with, and it doesn't wrap it all neatly. I agree with you guys. I wish like some things were more focused. But I also think, like, you know, it wasn't completely empty to me. It just felt very generic. It felt like a very typical sports biopic when, given the talent involved, this could have been something much more. Yeah.
Agreed. I just want to be clear. I wasn't saying he looked miserable in the end. I wasn't saying, but I'm saying.
Well, you're saying, look at this chump.
No. I'm saying, I'm saying the filmmaker. And I'm not even saying the filmmaker is saying he looks miserable. I'm saying the filmmaker is revealing what the point of the movie is in the final 2 minutes of the movie, which is, hey, look at this. Look at what this guy went through. Look at what this guy went through.
Know his name.
He should be known. Look, know his name. His name is like, I think it literally ends with the text. His name is Mark Kerr.
Yeah.
His name is Robert Paulson. Like, it's literally like, hey, like, look at all this. Look at all the shit this guy went through. This unsupportive, toxic girlfriend. He didn't even get to fight his friend. All these terrible things. And now at the end of all that, he's shopping for his own Baskin Robbins at the store. And like, what a shame that is. And it's like, okay, like, you didn't need a 2 hour long movie. I could have read a Wikipedia page and gotten the same impact. You didn't need a 2-hour-long movie for that.
This movie could have been an email. I mean, and it's like it's replete with this pattern over and over and over of like, oh, is this what I'm supposed to latch onto? Is this my takeaway? No, let's undermine that. There's a scene where he has to like negotiate with the Japanese businessmen to like get any money at all. Cut to he's in a fancy house with a nice car. Don't understand how that works. He's like, oh, can I get a couple of thousand? Is there any fallout to that? Is there any reason to even show that scene? Because it amounts to nothing. It goes nowhere. Like that's what this movie is over and over and over is like, here's a little thing that happened. Isn't that curious? Well, on to something else. It's like the strangest thing to me.
Yeah. Agreed.
And it's a bummer because, like you said, there's a lot of great talent involved.
Yeah.
And, whatever.
Go watch The Iron Claw, folks. It's a great movie.
Well, at the end of the day, despite everything we have just said, it is really impressive that Benny Safdie made a movie. He's branching out on his own. They're no longer the Safdie brothers anymore. And, we wish them both the best because I think they are extremely talented. But
the other Safdie has something coming soon too.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But we didn't love this one, sadly. Thank you so much for watching this video of the Filmcast. Check out these other videos that we have available, and be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get other videos from us in the future.
You can also go to thefilmcast.com to catch all of our audio podcast versions of all of our episodes.
And support this podcast at patreon.com/filmpodcast, where you can sign up for ad-free episodes and exclusive After Darks.
Thanks so much to everyone who makes the Filmcast possible.